Hello everyone, welcome to Business Legally. My name is Sharon Ambozo and I'm a lawyer with experience with working with small businesses, startups and young entrepreneurs. This week we're going to be discussing companies, specifically private limited liability companies. So, I know most of you know exactly what a company is, maybe not the nitty-gritties, but you have a general idea of what a company is. You probably own a company right now, but you don't understand exactly what it means to run one, at least legally. So in Uganda, we have private limited liability companies. This can be either a local company or a foreign company. So a local company is one that is incorporated in Uganda. What does that mean? If you register a company in Uganda, that is a local company. It's a Ugandan company because the whole registration process was done in Uganda. So how is this different from a foreign company? A foreign company is a company that is registered elsewhere. For example, if you incorporate a company in Kenya, it becomes a Kenyan company. However, you may come to Uganda because you want to expand your business, you want to grow your clientele, or you want to explore the opportunities the economy of Uganda can present to you. So what do? You move to Uganda, you start your business. So if you want that business to operate legally in Uganda, what you do is you register it with URSB. Now, this is not incorporation. Even when you're applying to URSB, you inform them, you actually use the incorporation documents that you have for where you incorporated it because it's incorporated according to the laws of Kenya. Now you want to operate in Uganda and be subject to Ugandan law, so you register it here. So the only difference between local companies and foreign companies is the place of birth. If it's birthed in Uganda, it's a local company. It doesn't matter whether all the shareholders are Ugandans or Indians or even any other nationality. If it's birthed in Uganda, it's a local company. But a foreign company, it can be incorporated elsewhere and it wants to do business in Uganda, so it just registers here. Now, why is this very important? To draw the distinction between local and foreign companies. For a company that is foreign, it might be excluded from enjoying certain privileges that are only restricted to local companies. For example, if a company is a foreign company, let's say, and in the shareholders, the majority of them are not Ugandan nationals, it means that that is a foreign company that takes on the personality of a foreigner, so they cannot own freehold or milo land in Uganda. So now you need to be sure, maybe you get married to a Canadian and he gives you some money to start a business, or he says, oh, let's do something together. If you start that company and let's say he owns 60%, now that company becomes a foreign company. So it means that let's say later you get some money and you want to maybe invest in real estate. So you want to own freehold property. You want to buy some land in maybe Entebbe and set up some housing units for rent. That company cannot own that freehold because it's a foreign company, because the majority shareholder is a foreigner. Now, the situation will be different if you, the Ugandan wife, own 60%. So the secret is in who holds the majority shareholding in that company. So it is very important to take note of that when you're registering your company, especially when you're still in the negotiation stages, when you're still promoters of the company, still agreeing on the nitty-gritties of how you want to start. So let's go to exactly what a company is. A company is a separate legal entity. It's distinct from its shareholders. It can own property. It can sue and be sued. It can, in its own name, it can make decisions on its own. So what does that mean in just simple terms? If you register a company, it's like you've given birth to a child. This child is not like you. They are not even an extension of you. They are separate from you. They can own property on their own. They have their own rights. So it's separate legal. It's a separate legal entity. Now, just like I've used the example of if you register a company or you incorporate a company, you've created a child, you can't abandon this child. This person has rights, privileges under the law. It means that you're also responsible towards this child. So it means that when you incorporate a company, it's not just a one-off. Because you've created a separate legal person, this person has to be maintained. So I know of clients who've incorporated companies and abandoned them. I think even recently, there was a major discussion about companies that were going to be struck off the register. Now, the reason for this was because so many companies had been incorporated, but had remained, that there was no activity going on in their books at the registry, at URSB, because they were not filing annual returns. So if you incorporate a company, please take note, one of the most important things is that you need to file annual returns every single year. Now, what exactly are annual returns? This is something that we shall discuss in detail when we discuss corporate governance. But you need to just take note that from the year of incorporation, you have 1 year. And then you start filing annual returns. And right now there is a requirement that the person who creates this report, or even who submits this, has to be an auditor from an accredited firm. So please take note of that. Make sure that your annual returns are also up to date. So there are different types of companies. We started from local and foreign companies. We now know the distinction between the two, and now we move to the next step. There are company limited by shares, there's a company limited by guarantee, and there's single member company. So today I would like to focus on a private limited company limited by shares. So like it says in the name, it's a separate legal entity. It has limited liability. So what does this mean for you as a shareholder? Let me say you incorporate a company with your friends, your 5 people. Then you take on shares to the tune of 100%, maybe let's say 20% each. And then you say our share capital is maybe 5 million. So it means that this company has limited liability to the tune of unpaid balance on your shares. So it means that if you have 20%, you paid 15%, that 5% is the only money that you owe towards the company's debts. So if you're running a business, at no point will they attach your personal house where you live with your wife, where the certificate of title is in your name, to try to recover this money, unless you have done an act that requires court or someone to now lift the corporate veil, which is the protection that you get from running a company as a separate legal entity. But if you abuse your power, then they might lift the corporate veil and now come to recover from your personal assets. But if you're doing everything above ground, you're doing everything by the book, if you register a company, it's going to be a separate legal entity and it owns its own assets, so that it can actually can own land in its own name. So even on a certificate of title, it can appear there as owner. It can own cars, it can own machinery in the company. So it means that in case of default of a loan maybe, or if it runs into some problems, it can take care of itself. That is why it's called a separate legal entity, and its limited liability. Now, let's move to the part that discusses shares. When you're registering a company, you will be required to declare what the share capital is. So the share is a unit of ownership in the company. So the people who own shares are actually called shareholders, and they are the owners of the company. This is the brain. It's the brain behind the company, and they're the ones who make the decisions that affect the core operations of the company. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of registering a company? The advantages of registering a company are so many compared to the disadvantages. Number one, separate legal entity. As a business owner, it gives you so much freedom when you know that the decisions that you're making for your company, for your company's growth, will not now end up affecting your personal life. Because it's a separate legal entity, it can make its own decisions. It can sue and be sued in its name. Imagine as a business owner sitting in Luzira because you couldn't clear a debt that you used to run your company. That would be unfair. So under company law, the company is the only one that is liable. So they will recover from its assets. So that is one of the advantages. Another one is that it's more credible when you run a company. It creates more credibility. If you are someone who is interested in working with government, something that I would encourage everyone to do, as long as you formalize your business, you've registered your company, you qualify to work with government. You can go on the e-portal, and then if you've registered, you have all the documents, you just submit your documents, and you're able to get government contracts, and also contracts with big corporations. Another thing would be that you can easily build a brand around your company, a sustainable brand at that, because a company can outlive its shareholders. So you need to make sure that as you're building your brand, as you're doing all this advertising, creating all this awareness around around your company, this is something that your beneficiaries or your estate can benefit from even after that you've passed. And this is something that you can only achieve when you set up a company. Another thing would be, you can access credit, brand protection, you can expand your business beyond borders, you can easily attract investment. Most investors, especially equity investors, will be interested in your company when they know that they can get a share of your company or a share of ownership in your company. And now this is something you can't do if you're running a sole proprietorship. Now, the disadvantages. The disadvantages are very few and basic. Number one, perceived cost of registering a company. Of course, it requires more documents to register a company than registering maybe a sole proprietorship. It will require a bit more money in fees to register a company. Another thing would be there's a requirement for corporate governance. You need to have board meetings. You can't just wake up one day and you make a decision on behalf of the company. The meeting there has to be a meeting, either a shareholders meeting or a board meeting of the directors, and a decision is made, a resolution is filed, and the registrar at URSB is notified. Another thing is that companies pay corporate tax. Now, the standard rate is 30%. There is a perception that this 30%, the corporate tax is paid on the revenue and by the company. That's not true. This is paid from taxable profits of the company. So there is also that disadvantage, because most people feel like this is a hefty fee. So maybe that is something that you need to be aware of as you incorporate your company. Another disadvantage would probably be the compliance. Ongoing compliance. Very many people, clients, believe that, oh, when I register a company, it's like I'm tied to it forever. I'll need to file annual returns. I need to file tax returns all the time. I'll need to file resolutions whenever I'm making a decision, and I need to file resolutions in case I transfer shares. But this is something that you need to look at as a cost of running your business, as part of your operational decisions in running your business, such that you can prepare for it and enjoy the privileges of owning a company. That is basically it regarding companies. And for everyone that has registered a company or is interested in registering a company, make your research such that you understand the business structure fully and how the legal requirement of owning a company can affect your business operations. That has been it from me regarding the discussion on private limited liability companies. It was nice having this conversation with you. This is Sharon Nambozo, and this is Business Legally. Till next time, bye.